Let's embark on an illuminating journey into the intricate relationship between vitamin D and our seasonal well-being. Imagine the warmth of the summer sun on your skin, a feeling often associated with vitality and good health. Unseen, yet profoundly impactful, this interaction triggers the synthesis of a crucial vitamin within our bodies. Vitamin D. Now, contrast this with the shorter, often cloudier days of winter, where this natural production dwindles. This seasonal shift in sunlight exposure has a far-reaching impact on our health and well-being, a connection our story will unravel. Our protagonist is Rohan, a dedicated health researcher living in a region with distinct seasons. He noticed a recurring pattern among his community, a general dip in mood and increased susceptibility to illness during the winter months. Intrigued, Rohan embarked on a quest to understand the underlying causes, his investigation leading him to the pivotal role of vitamin D. Vitamin D, often dubbed the sunshine vitamin, is a fat-soluble vitamin that plays a multifaceted role in maintaining human health. Unlike many other vitamins that we primarily obtain through diet, our bodies can synthesize vitamin D when our skin is exposed to ultraviolet B, UVB, radiation from sunlight. The journey of vitamin D within our bodies is quite remarkable. When UVB rays hit the skin, they convert a precursor molecule called 7-dehydrocholesterol into vitamin D3, cholecalciferol. This form of vitamin D then travels to the liver, where it undergoes its first hydroxylation to become 25-hydroxyvitamin, also known as calcidiol. This is the form of vitamin D most commonly measured in blood tests to assess an individual's vitamin D status. Next, 25-O-D travels to the kidneys, where it undergoes a second hydroxylation to become 1,25-dihydroxyvitamin D, also known as calcitriol. This is the biologically active form of vitamin D, the form that can bind to vitamin D receptors present in virtually every cell in our body, exerting its wide range of effects. Rohan's initial research highlighted the well-established role of vitamin D in calcium absorption and bone health. Vitamin D promotes the absorption of calcium from the gut into the bloodstream, and it works in concert with parathyroid hormone to regulate calcium levels and maintain bone density. Insufficient vitamin D can lead to impaired calcium absorption, increasing the risk of bone diseases such as rickets in children and osteomalacia and osteoporosis in adults. However, Rohan's curiosity extended beyond bone health. He began to explore the growing body of research linking vitamin D to other crucial aspects of health, particularly those that seem to fluctuate with the seasons. Vitamin D and the immune system, a seasonal balancing act. One of the most compelling areas of Rohan's investigation was the interplay between vitamin D and the immune system. He discovered that vitamin D plays a vital role in modulating immune responses, helping the body to fight off infections while also preventing excessive inflammation. Vitamin D receptors are found on various immune cells, including T cells, B cells, and macrophages. When activated, vitamin D can influence the production of antimicrobial peptides, which help to defend against pathogens. It can also modulate the balance between pro-inflammatory and anti-inflammatory cytokines, which are crucial signaling molecules in the immune system. Rohan learned that during the winter months, when sunlight exposure is reduced and vitamin D levels tend to be lower, the immune system might be less efficient in fighting off respiratory infections, such as influenza and the common cold. This could partly explain the seasonal increase in the incidence of these illnesses. Conversely, Rohan also found research suggesting that excessive vitamin D supplementation might sometimes have complex effects on the immune system. The key appeared to be maintaining optimal vitamin D levels, a delicate balance that supports robust yet regulated immune function. Vitamin D and mood regulation. The winter blues. Another striking observation in Rohan's community was the prevalence of seasonal affective disorder, SAD, often referred to as the winter blues. SAD is a type of depression that tends to occur during the fall and winter months and remits in the spring and summer. Rohan delved into the potential link between vitamin D and mood regulation. He discovered that vitamin D receptors are present in areas of the brain involved in mood regulation, such as the hypothalamus and the limbic system. While the exact mechanisms are still being investigated, some studies have suggested a correlation between lower vitamin D levels and an increased risk of depression, including SAD. It's hypothesized that vitamin D might influence the synthesis and release of neurotransmitters like serotonin, which play a crucial role in mood regulation. The reduced sunlight exposure during winter not only affects vitamin D synthesis but also disrupts the body's natural circadian rhythm, the internal clock that regulates sleep-wake cycles. This disruption, combined with potentially lower vitamin D levels, could contribute to the symptoms of SAD, such as fatigue, low mood, and changes in appetite and sleep patterns. Vitamin D and energy levels. Combating winter fatigue. Many individuals report feeling more fatigued and lethargic during the winter months. Rohan wondered if vitamin D could play a role in this seasonal dip in energy levels. His research revealed that vitamin D is involved in mitochondrial function, the process by which cells produce energy. Optimal vitamin D levels might support efficient energy production, potentially mitigating feelings of fatigue. Furthermore, the interplay between vitamin D, mood, and sleep can indirectly affect energy levels. If low vitamin D contributes to a depressed mood or disrupted sleep, this can certainly lead to increased fatigue. Seasonal variations in vitamin D levels. A global perspective. Rohan expanded his research to consider global patterns of vitamin D levels. He found that populations living at higher latitudes, where sunlight exposure is significantly reduced during winter, tend to have lower average vitamin D levels compared to those living closer to the equator. Studies across different countries consistently showed seasonal variations in vitamin D status, with levels typically peaking in the late summer and reaching their lowest point in late winter or early spring. The magnitude of these seasonal fluctuations can vary depending on factors such as latitude, skin pigmentation, lifestyle, and dietary intake. Factors influencing vitamin D levels. A complex equation. Rohan realized that maintaining optimal vitamin D levels is a complex equation involving several factors. Sunlight exposure. The most significant factor, influenced by latitude, time of day, season, cloud cover, air pollution, and the amount of skin exposed. Skin pigmentation. Melanin, the pigment in our skin, absorbs UVB radiation, reducing the efficiency of vitamin D synthesis. Individuals with darker skin require more sun exposure to produce the same amount of vitamin D as those with lighter skin. Age. As we age, the skin's ability to synthesize vitamin D decreases. Diet. Certain foods contain vitamin D, such as fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, tuna, egg yolks, and fortified foods, milk, cereals, juices. However, dietary sources alone are often insufficient to meet vitamin D requirements, especially during periods of low sunlight exposure. Supplementation. Vitamin D supplements, D2 or D3, are an effective way to increase and maintain adequate vitamin D levels, particularly during winter or for individuals with limited sun exposure or other risk factors for deficiency. Body weight. Obesity is associated with lower vitamin D levels, possibly due to the sequestration of vitamin D in fat tissue and reduced bioavailability. Vitamin D testing and supplementation. Practical considerations. Rohan then addressed the practical aspects of vitamin D testing and supplementation. He explained that a simple blood test can measure 25-OD levels and help determine an individual's vitamin D status. He emphasized that the optimal vitamin D level is a subject of ongoing debate among experts, but generally, levels above 20 nanograms per milliliter, 50 nmol, are considered sufficient for bone health. Many experts now suggest that higher levels may be beneficial for overall health, particularly for immune function. Regarding supplementation, Rohan discussed the two main forms of vitamin D supplements. Vitamin D2, ergocalciferol, which is typically derived from yeast, and vitamin D3, cholecalciferol, which is the form produced by the skin and is also available from animal sources and some algae. Studies generally suggest that vitamin D3 is more effective at raising and maintaining blood levels of 25-OD. He stressed the importance of consulting with a healthcare professional before starting vitamin D supplementation, as the appropriate dose can vary depending on individual needs and underlying health conditions. High doses of vitamin D can potentially lead to toxicity, although this is rare. Dietary sources of vitamin D. A supporting role. Rohan also reviewed the dietary sources of vitamin D, highlighting that while food alone may not be sufficient to meet everyone's needs, it can play a supportive role. He listed good sources such as fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines, egg yolks, fortified milk, fortified cereals, and mushrooms exposed to UV light. Optimizing sunlight exposure safely. A balancing act. Rohan provided guidance on how to optimize sunlight exposure for vitamin D synthesis while minimizing the risk of skin damage. He explained that the amount of time needed in the sun varies depending on factors such as skin pigmentation, time of day, season, and latitude. He generally recommended exposing a significant portion of the skin, e.g., arms and legs, to sunlight for 10-30 minutes around midday, several times a week, without sunscreen. However, he cautioned against prolonged sun exposure that could lead to sunburn and increase the risk of skin cancer. He emphasized the importance of using sunscreen when staying in the sun for longer periods. Vitamin D and specific seasonal health concerns. Deeper connections. Rohan further explored the potential links between vitamin D and specific health concerns that tend to be more prevalent during certain seasons. Respiratory infections. As mentioned earlier, lower vitamin D levels in winter may contribute to an increased susceptibility to respiratory infections like colds and flu. Some studies have suggested that vitamin D supplementation might help reduce the risk and severity of these infections, although more research is needed. Autoimmune diseases. Some autoimmune diseases, such as multiple sclerosis, have a higher prevalence in regions farther from the equator, where sunlight exposure and vitamin D levels tend to be lower. Research suggests a potential role for vitamin D in modulating the immune system and influencing the risk and progression of autoimmune diseases, with seasonal variations in symptoms observed in some conditions. Cardiovascular health. Emerging research suggests a possible link between vitamin D deficiency and an increased risk of cardiovascular disease. Seasonal variations in blood pressure and other cardiovascular risk factors have been observed, and vitamin D might play a role in these fluctuations. Mental health beyond SAD. While the link between vitamin D and SAD has been studied most extensively, Rohan also touched upon research exploring the potential role of vitamin D in other mental health conditions, such as non-seasonal depression and anxiety, with some studies showing seasonal patterns in symptom severity. The importance of individualized approaches. Listening to your body. Rohan emphasized that the optimal approach to maintaining vitamin D levels and supporting seasonal well-being is likely to be individualized. Factors such as geographic location, lifestyle, diet, and underlying health conditions all play a role. He encouraged his audience to pay attention to their bodies, notice any seasonal changes in their health and well-being, and consult with healthcare professionals to determine the best strategies for them. This might involve a combination of sensible sunlight exposure, a vitamin D-rich diet, and supplementation, tailored to their specific needs. Integrating vitamin D into seasonal wellness strategies. Our journey has highlighted the profound connection between vitamin D and our seasonal well-being. The ebb and flow of sunlight throughout the year significantly impacts our vitamin D levels, which in turn can influence our immune function, mood, energy levels, and potentially our risk for various health conditions. While sunlight remains the primary source of vitamin D for most people, dietary sources and supplementation can play crucial supporting roles, especially during the winter months or for those with limited sun exposure. Maintaining optimal vitamin D levels is not a magic bullet, but it is an important piece of the puzzle when it comes to supporting our health and navigating the challenges and opportunities presented by each season. By understanding the interplay between vitamin D and our bodies, and by adopting personalized strategies that may include sensible sun exposure, a balanced diet, and appropriate supplementation under the guidance of a healthcare professional, we can empower ourselves to thrive throughout the year.